I'm ready to learn.
Okay, I'm calling the meeting to order. We're meeting as the Consolidated Board of Adjustment. And the first on the list, we need to administer the oath of.
If you would be so kind to hand me the folder that says chairman's signature. And then you might remember that we do this in a collective.
Mhm.
And TME, if you want separately, I was expecting somebody from the school. Would you hand that to her, please? And then once we're done, you just circulate that and sign it. Now Greg's not gonna be here, so you can skip over that. And if we don't have any other guests, Tammy, you can certainly sit in the motion chair.
This is fine.
Okay, so let me read that to you guys. Do each of you, as a member of the Consolidated Board of Equalization for Haines County in the state of South Dakota for the year 2022, being first duly sworn and deposed, and say that you will fairly and impartially perform the duties as a member of the Consolidated Board of Equalization for the county and state, that you will endeavor to equalize the assessment of all real property within the jurisdiction of which you are responsible, that you will seek to place on the books of the tax jurisdiction any property that may have been omitted by error or neglect of the assessor, that you will faithfully and impartially perform all other duties or acts enjoined upon you by law, to that end that all assessments within the above county may be complete and just and equal as between the property holders. You so solemnly swear.
I do.
I do. Okay, fill in the blanks. Now you're
I
ready.
need a pen. What do we got? 4.
Sure you don't want to switch chairs, Tammy? Those?
What's that?
Sure you don't want to switch chairs?
Oh, I'm good. I'm fine.
Jim, you want to push that one aside then?
Say it again.
If you want, you can push that one aside.
Are you ready for me?
Almost.
Okay.
The City of St. Lawrence sent a resolution, which was available by link on the agenda. Basically, they're not gonna do their local board. They're gonna join with the consolidated board. I was expecting somebody to come from the city there, but there's nobody here, so.
What does it mean when it says the local board and will contribute to the consolidated? What does that mean, contribute in that sense?
I guess just that they'll come, and if they have a comment, they'll give them to you.
Oh,
So, you don't have to act on that, I just wanted you to be aware of it before you get into the rest, so.
wow.
You can hand it over to me.
Jamie, you're up.
Okay. All right, you guys all have a copy of the agenda. I'm just gonna go over it, and if you guys have any questions on my report there. Ag land values for this year due to the productivity formula is down 1.89% countywide. Crop soils didn't have any adjustment this year, and non-crop was up 2.72%. And then in there, I included the whole county in the percent of change, and Miller City, I broke that out, St. Lawrence, Free Heights, and Westington. Are there any questions on those? Okay. Per the state statute, I am required to perform a sales ratio study that goes with the market, and according to that sales ratio study, our assessment ratio was sitting at 0.7214. And by statute, the minimum allotted for me to be is at 85%. So that showed that I needed to increase values. And I increased those values by 18% to all non-ag property in Haines County. So that brought our sales assessment ratio to exactly 0.8512. So it didn't like throw me way over, it just got us right where we needed to be, okay? So after receiving the factors from the state, our ag level of assessment is usually always at 100%, and so that factor is at 0.85. So So with the assessment rate, with that ratio being raised, the factor now is at 0.999. So, crop dollar, top dollar is 2751.62, and non-crop is 1668.28. And again, I just added that. You can see the growth in each municipality. And we had a total growth of $6,277,270 for 2022. Any questions?
When we come up with crop dollar top and non-crop dollar, does that number reflect 85 or 100?
85.
Okay.
So I apply that top dollar and non-crop in the system, and then it's factored then at 85, okay?
Yep.
Yep,
When you do these like 43 applicants for tax exemption,
yes,
how often are them reviewed
annually,
annually?
yes,
And so if their status stays the same, they just stay in exemption.
yes. And this last year, we did have one go off. The Reed Heights Community Church lots were transferred over to a property owner there. And so that went off an exemption, but then we added one for the hospital. So it's the same, we had 43 the year before.
One of the houses they own.
Yeah, and they bought a lot without a house, actually, so. Is that a good, does that answer your question?
Do they actually apply or
Yes.
do you do it for
Well, we fill out the form and they sign it,
them? Okay, who does it for the GAR Cemetery Association? Does Dave Lasher do it?
yes, I believe so.
Okay.
On the top of my head, that's who I think. On the top of my head, that's who I think does it,
Because he's the
but
secretary.
I think so, yeah.
Are all the cemeteries included?
Yeah.
How about abandoned cemeteries? And there's nobody to apply.
I guess we haven't ran into that yet, but,
Right, they're on private property now, I guess.
yeah, right, and so like.
Did other counties experience the same?
Yes.
amount?
Yes, actually, I was told, I just was at a district meeting last week, and we talked about appeals and our sales ratios, and I actually am one of the lower ones across the whole state. So, most of them were at 21 to 25%.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah.
So you need a motion?
Doug?
No, not necessarily.
No, I don't think so.
No, it's more informational than.
It's just more informational, just so you guys know what's up, and I'm in there doing my job, so.
Most of the time, the ones that ask for this data are the cities, because it gives them an idea of what they should be planning on for their budget considerations for growth. But they can't officially use it until it's certified.
Do
Right,
they use sales ratios too?
No.
Like we do for egg ground? They don't?
They just use what the change in value of the property is, the growth.
And sales doesn't have anything to do with that?
Not for them, it does for her.
No, I mean for the city.
Right.
okay. Any other questions?
We're gonna do the appeals too?
I believe we will go over that, and I will give you my opinion. I don't know where. Do we just wanna?
Well, I don't know if he's calling.
My mouse died.
Oh, okay. All right. So do we just wanna go over, do I
Put
go over
the
this
points
stuff, or?
Yep.
Okay.
I have it up on the screen too.
Okay. Do you want me to read everything on it, or how
No, I think generally you just have to inform them that Tim has filed an appeal.
Yeah, we received an appeal from Timothy Veronic. His mom, Mary, lives in the house. She does get owner occupied because she is a parent of the child that owns the house. That's how that works. He's appealing, saying that his house value he thinks is only at $300,000 and the value of the lot should only be $10,000. They built the house 5 years ago, and I can tell you that 2 years ago, when they completed, there was a conversation between Terry and Tim about some economic obsolescence, which I agree with, that was applied for the railroad going right next to the house. So he's getting a 15% discount or for that economic obsolescence. I did ask Tim in conversation if I could myself see the house and schedule a time to see that house, and I have yet to be given a time to see it. So I can't give my own eye on the inside of the property. But I can tell you that I did rerun the home in our software, and with the value that it gave me and the 15% economic obsolescence, and then I gave a 2% depreciation for each year, the value is still $2,000 more than the assessed value on his property. So I'm telling you, according to the sales and according to like property throughout the city of Miller, that I say that the value stands
And that's
as is.
with regard to the land too?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. So that is my report. If you have more questions, I'm more than willing to answer them.
Was he invited to give his views or not?
I furnished him with the booklet
Mhm.
electronically that the Department of Revenue provides for property owners through the appeal process.
And he's chosen not to appear, apparently,
Well, he lives in Colorado, so logistically he may
or
not.
nobody on his behalf.
Yeah.
Right.
He could have
Well-
chose to do it via,
He what?
he could have chose it to do it via
Yeah.
video if,
If you look what it says here is that he's applying, or he believes that the correct full and true value of said property. He's got the 300,000 with 10,000, so he believes it should be 290. Am I reading that right?
oh, I'm sorry, the total value at 300,000. Yes, I'm sorry, I read that wrong. So the total value at 300,000 and the house value at 290. I have this book ready to go. Like I have comps throughout the whole city that are comparable to his mom's house or to his house that his mom lives in. And I guess my statement would be if I were to lower his, then I could not rightfully not lower others throughout the city of Miller.
The comps are in line with this square footage and style.
Right. His comeback, I guess, as far as his house is that the comps that I gave him were not exactly like his mom's because one was just outside of Miller. And I told him that the reason why we don't have that many comps is because everybody's buying a lot and building a new home because that's what everybody wants. So I asked the state how I should approach that and the value and how I come up with his value, and they told me to use the cost approach, which I did.
To your knowledge, is he aware of the protocols and the formulas that you apply?
Yeah, I emailed him my spreadsheet, I emailed him my sales ratio study.
Okay, and did anything back?
No,
Well, have you guys read this email that he sent?
No.
I do.
So, I mean, that's essentially what he's
Oh, there it
writing
is.
to you guys.
yeah, yep, it's
I
right
didn't
in
see
there,
this.
yep.
Yeah, it was linked
There's
in
a
the
paper
agenda.
copy, Jim, if you don't want to
Okay.
take it from the chair.
And he does go through each approach that I am trained to use. The income approach obviously would not apply here because it's not a rental. the cost approach, you know, and the software that the county purchases for me to use, uses values of what building constructions are and all of that, and then he did say about the, depreciation that should be used, and he is getting depreciation according to the functional, or the obsolescence for the location of the railroad, and then also another 10%.
He says
For
that
the
he
age.
doesn't think that you consider the depreciation, but you just said you did.
Yeah.
Twice you said that.
Yep.
We must have houses in Miller that are assessed at a higher value.
Yeah,
And that's, have any of those sold?
the one comp I did give him, is in Prairie Vista. It sold in 2018 for just under $300,000, which 2018, that's 4 years ago. So if you do,
8%?
if you,
After taking.
it goes right in line with, and that house is assessed at $2,000 more than his mom's now. And it sold 4 years ago for just under $300,000.
When you figured out the replacement cost, were you taking into account the horrific inflation on construction costs that the whole nation has experienced in the last year?
The software does that, yes.
It does?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Based on what you've provided and what he has provided, I would move that we deny the appeal. And stand behind our assessor.
I'll second that motion. I'll also make a comment that I believe all due diligence has been made here and needs to stand.
All those in favor?
Give, aye.
Jim, aye.
Jim, aye.
Luke, aye.
Okay, if there's no other business, you can choose to adjourn. We'll
Gonna get a motion?
Motion to adjourn?
Get a
So we need a
motion?
motion to close the books, Doug?
Yeah, actually, that's how I have it written on the agenda.
Okay. So is that the motion
Yes.
that's just been made? Okay. I'll second if nobody did. Did somebody?
Can we do this? Do we have to do a roll call?
No, not for that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, Tammy, that ends your duties.
It ends my duties.
You're more than welcome to stick around if you'd like.
I'll go to
Need a
my next
motion?
meeting,
Do we need a motion to
Is
come
that
out?
your
of
meeting, girl?
equalization?
7:30, it's
No,
EMT
actually, just
meeting.
call the meeting to order at the commission.
Thanks for coming, he's been, here's this. Thank you.
Thanks, Tim.
Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Okay, let me back up here a second. Either Sherry or Kim could be here, so I have their budget up on the board here. And again, what we're looking at is, at this point, is operational expenses, because we don't know what health insurance is gonna do. So each of the departments, excuse me, did use the 3% CPI on salaries, and then that, of course, changes the FICA and stuff comparably. So in the operational side, you can see that Sherry's original 2022 is 10,650, it's only 10,008, so there's really not much topic for discussion. What she did tell me, to remind you, is that because of her pending departure, they're going to add to the budget to hire somebody to start that orientation period. So operationally, an insignificant change.
So she did factor that in, or we need to factor that in?
Well, that will be, when we do the wage portion of it, you will see that. So the next one is the registered deeds, and Susie is here to represent herself. And my mouse still don't work.
I quit feeding that mouse that rat quick.
I guess.
And my major budget stays as it is, it's my the MMP fund, which is the modernization and preservation fund, is what I'm asking. I had 7,000 put in my budget, but as of yesterday, I raised it to 10. The first one for the 7 was the historical index module, which I haven't talked to the person with Tyler that all the books that we have, to be able to put them in a folder on our computer and be able to bring them up. Right now, we have them. Shanae is gradually putting the book on, but you gotta remember there's 600 pages in a book and probably 2 or more documents per page. So, the older books, to be able to, we have a digital reel, but it's not very good. And it's not going to hold up very much longer. It was to get us by, we have it running through another computer to keep it going. We have one computer that we can pull it up on. So we,
Is it like the old fishes, all that
well, it's
stuff?
not the fish, but it's about like that, but half the time we gotta get the book out and make a copy because it's so faded when they did it. They didn't have the updated stuff on it. You know, like be able to scale, the good scanners are now. This was probably back in like 2006 when they did it. And it was a company out of California.
There isn't any portion of a transfer fee that is dedicated to modernization and preservation currently, huh?
There is.
Yeah.
There is?
Yes.
And this is really insufficient, even calculating the estimate on what
Oh,
that would bring in?
there's a lot of money in that.
Yeah, actually, we were talking earlier that her copier is fritzing out.
Yeah.
Like day by day, so actually, you have a choice whether to allow her to replace that copier this year from MP funds, or if you wanna put it in the budget for next year. Personally, from what I've heard of her machine, it ain't gonna last through the end of the year.
Okay, the M&P is at 7,000, is that what you're saying?
Right.
Okay, well, that,
I have it,
That makes
I have it 7,000 right now and I haven't used any out of that yet.
and how much of that will be shot if you have to? All of it and more?
No, well, for the copier it won't.
No.
For the, I'm not 100% sure, like 4 years ago, it was 4,500 to put the index on the computer. I don't know if it'd be 5,500, if it'd be $1,000 more.
So we're carrying a little over every year in that until we.
In the M&P fund, well, yeah, I usually don't spend all of it.
Yeah, it's one of our special funds, so it never disappears. It
So like,
continues
That's
to-
what I think.
all the recording stuff that we do, so much goes into this fund and all the counties get a portion. So Minnehaha, actually, probably in Pennington and the bigger counties help us out. We get about $4,500 every year put into that fund.
Question. How long does it take her to get a book put in? General estimate,
I'm gonna have
a
to
day
say,
or a week or?
probably with all the other duties we do, she may be in maybe a month or and a half.
Okay.
Because you have to put all the information in and put it into the indexing and the names, and then sometimes you can't read it as clearly, so, yeah.
So how many books are we talking about here? I'm just trying to get a perspective on
We
how
have
big of a job this
87
is.
deeds to put on, 87 books. of deeds.
87 books.
And 47 miscellaneous books,
Okay.
which in the miscellaneous books, in one page of those big books, there could be 5 documents.
So if you're talking about 120 to 150 books at a month apiece, you have 120 to 150 months
Right.
to run that, for that one person to try to get that done with their
Right.
normal duty.
Right.
I'm just trying to get a
Yeah.
little handle on what we're
Right.
talking about here,
Yeah,
because if it's impractical and it's
Well, yeah,
never
if it
gonna
wasn't-
get done, you may have to really examine how you're doing it.
well, I would we're probably never, I mean, it's gonna be a long process.
An ongoing process that fills in time for that
Yes.
person or whatever. You know,
Right.
I'm just trying to get a little handle on it.
Yeah. That's what it, so, and this wouldn't be like, you type in the legal description and it pops up, like mine does now, I go by legal description. You would have to go in, we'd still look in the index books, but you'd be able to bring it up and print it off from there, instead of getting a big book out and laying it on the copier and print it out. Some of the big books, we're gonna have to do that, because people come in and want older mortgages, so we still had to get the big books out and copy them, but for this part, it would be nice to be able to go to that folder and then be able to send it to a printer and print it off.
But this is an ongoing project that could take 2 to 3 years.
Oh, yeah. Or,
That's what I want, because
Yeah.
we've talked about this before, and I'm
Yeah.
just wondering where it's going to. So,
yes, we have them scanned and she's got them on, we got them on a flash drive. And she's doing them.
We lock that back room safe every night.
We shut the doors and we turn off the lights.
Yeah, it's supposedly fireproof.
Yeah.
That room.
I think, yeah,
Our flash drives in there and all that stuff too. So if we had a fire, that stuff would be preserved.
well, hopefully, that would be the plan. Yeah,
I just
Do
wonder.
we keep our flash drives in a little fireproof safe or anything, or they gonna be gone with all the paper records if we have a fire?
Honestly,
She's saying the back room is full.
right, if the fire was in the mall, of course you'd lose it all.
yeah,
If the building collapsed, like a boiler explosion, then we'd probably lose it all. But, our data on the server is saved locally 2 times, and then it's saved in the cloud somewhere as well, but does not handle our paper records.
There was talk at one time of transferring some of these as they were getting put on to an offsite like the library or something. I didn't know if anything ever became of that or not. But
well, like all of
remember
our
that.
stuff that we have is, the title company picks it up, and so they are our backup. They pay us $100 a month for copies, and so if there would be something, we'd have to pay them to get that back. But we also have it microfilmed out at the state, and so at the end of the year, I send the year out there.
So it gets saved once a
Yeah,
year. That's
so there's, it's out there.
So if somebody files a mortgage at your office, not only do you have that, but the state has it and Nancy has it.
Yeah, I'd be behind because I do it every year, but but Nancy picks them up. So Nancy has, so whatever she pays us, we have to pay her to get those back.
And whatever lawyers' offices are involved would also have them. So you could put stuff back together if you had to. couldn't you?
Well, that's the plan, that's how that would be.
So you want us to add $3,000 to that line then? Is that
Well,
what
if
you're
I
saying?
can use I probably wouldn't need to if I can purchase the copier this year with the money that I have.
Yeah, it really depends on you guys. My personal suggestion is to buy the copier this year, because if electronics continue to rise because of transportation issues, you'll just pay more for it. And she'll be without pretty soon, because it's the 3rd generation down of our copier.
Right, I think we got it in that office about 2003 or 2004. And so it was in this
And that M&P fund can only be used for
certain
document
things.
certain things.
And
And it's
that's,
not money that the county can go get.
Right.
It can only be used for certain things, and
It's perfect fit.
yeah, it works good for her office.
Well, then what do we need to do with regard to her budget?
If you're agreeable to it, I'll set it up for a supplement at the next meeting.
Or if she could pull out of that other fund and do what she needs to do, then we don't need a supplement.
Then it would be a transfer.
But we have to okay the transfer, right?
Right.
I don't really see a problem with that because that's what she's using
Right,
it
it's a
for.
perfect fit.
Yeah, I'll move that she moves to
You
pull
can
it out
give
of
her,
MC fund and transfer it.
Second.
All those in favor?
and just so you know, since January 1st to today, we had 3,681 copies that we had to do. Last year, all year was 3,180.
What accounts for that?
The pipeline and the wind turbines.
Oh,
So we got a lot of activity. And besides the surveyors and other people too, but
sheesh.
yeah. And so the copier has to work out, and the copier will be used with the other computers because we have a computer person that can hook me up to our computers. So, any other questions?
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks.
I saw that Andrea was here, but I don't see Mary for the library, but Randy and his board member are here.
We're here.
Oh, they both are? Mary snuck in.
She was hiding.
You want us now?
You have a copy
No, I didn't bring copies for it.
Okay. I guess what I'm requesting tonight, and I brought Andrew with me for backup, she should say right here, is that for our 2023 budget, what I would like to do is make Hannah Caffey 25 hours, which would make her eligible for health insurance and then also our retirement.
Where's she at now?
She is currently at 10. The reason I want to do this is she is fantastic at programming. I don't want to lose her at all. She's a great asset. She has got spunk. She was brought an escape room. She's in a book club that was supposed to be just for the winter months, and we've had more and more attendance, and people don't want it to stop. So we're going to continue that, I think. A teen craft thing she's been doing on a monthly basis. We started out with no students. This just yesterday we had 10. It's nothing like having 7 kids walk in the door right after school. All excited, so we had like 10 yesterday for that. Through grants, we've gotten some grant money, and we bought a GPS system, so she has some plans to do some programming ideas and things with kids. We've got some coding programming that we got through some grants that she wants to get kids going in on that. And I just think she's a wonderful asset, and we'll get kids in our door, and we've got more and more people coming in kind of as English as a second language as well. And I know she'd be able to, we can come up with some ideas as well. It's just one of those things, though, it takes time, it takes effort, and she's definitely up to the job for it.
What would that do to your total budget?
It's gonna, for 2023, it's gonna raise it, what's about $7,000, a little less than $7,000 is what it would do.
What do we have it funded at now?
$80,915.
So you want to go to 80, whatever that is.
$87,115 is what we might like to go to, yes.
Did you have any other increases besides that on your budget?
No,
Otherwise, your budget is stable.
otherwise, yep, otherwise, absolutely everything else will stay the same as far as our repairs and maintenance supplies, left everything else the same, that would be the only thing that increased.
Well, sure, it needs a parking lot or a roof.
The parking lot is fantastic, thank you very much, it's wonderful.
Is the water dirty?
Yes.
Yeah,
And it
right, perfect.
goes right down right where it's supposed to go.
You can test it with a garden hose.
Yeah.
That's true. Put garden hose on the roof and see what happens.
Yes, and I think once the temperature hits 65 degrees on a consistent basis, they're supposed to be here for the roof as well, so just waiting for it to warm up.
How many other employees, have you lost any employees or gained any employees?
We have not, no, we have not,
That stayed
is-
steady too.
yep, that has stayed steady, yeah.
So this would be a total addition.
This would be just an addition of like, 15 hours is what it would
15
be
hours.
for one. And I have only talked to one other employee who's happy with their hours. I wanted to bring it to you first before I even visit with anybody else if they want to cut back on some hours. We have Ray that's working 2 hours a week. Does he want to continue that or not? We've got some unknowns at this time that I haven't checked in yet, or on, I should say, but.
So Hannah would be aware that with our policy at 25 or 20 hours, 25 hours or whatever, that she is responsible for part of that insurance premium.
Yes, 30%, I believe is what I've told her.
We revised the percentages that aren't necessarily on that.
Oh, that are on here.
2008 version of that.
Okay.
I'd move to approve.
Actually, you don't need a motion, just tell her to put it in there and we take it into
We're just looking at
consideration.
her budget. We're just,
She's asking to hire somebody.
She has.
No,
a-
the
she's
person's there, she's
asking
just
for
asking to add more hours.
Go from 10 to 25, correct? Add 15 hours.
She's one of our 0 to 19 employees.
Yeah. Our techie employees are becoming more and more valuable to us all the time.
Yes, they are.
Oh, she
Fully
is,
aware of that.
yes, she is definitely one we do not want to lose. She's a wonderful asset.
So many
Consensus?
levels.
On so many levels, exactly. On so many
We're just
levels.
putting the budget
So we're
together.
done then?
We're not
Yeah.
finalizing anything tonight.
You know,
It's all just,
It's okay if
Getting
you
them-
want to though.
we got a long ways to go. We're just getting started. I don't think we'll do that.
No, you're fine. Perfect. Okay, you need anything else from me at this time? Any other questions at all? But thank you very much. The parking lot is fantastic. Thank you very much. The door, I mean, it's fantastic. We appreciate it, all that you've done. Been great supporters of the library. We very much appreciate that. It's a great asset to the community. So,
We appreciate all you guys do, keeping it going too.
thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Please have a great night.
Thank you, Mary.
I sent Ann a text to see if she had any comments. In my discussion with her, she is not going to include money in her budget for a summertime helper anymore. She doesn't think that it's necessary. She thinks she can cover it all. So in actuality, her budget will go down. Not a great deal, but. So,
It's kind of refreshing.
yeah.
We hear that often.
That
I did send
that
her a
doesn't
text
happen
to
very
see if she
often.
had anything else. She must be busy because she hasn't replied yet, so
Do we want to move on to Randy?
I would think that's
Randy?
really good.
Did we forget you?
Cool.
I was wondering if you have any questions on my budget this year?
So you're putting in for 10% across the board, or what? Just chemical, or just
Yeah, the
hours, what?
little raise increased and I had a little more for chemical because you don't know what that's gonna be.
How about equipment?
No equipment. More for fuel because fuel double.
It is. Did you pre-purchase most of your chemicals?
Yeah, we got it all already from last year.
Yeah, so that ain't gonna change anyway. That price is set.
This will be for next.
So I pulled his budget up on here. You can see that he's got $1,500 more in the chemical line. There's $1,000 more for motor vehicle fuel out here, so we can't pick on her, but looking forward to the next surcharge, right, Randy?
Mhm.
And then there was 200 in repairs, so. Well, it showed a 10% increase when you look at what he spends in relations. He went from 43.7 to 48.1. So if the price of fuel does fluctuate, he just won't spend it if it comes down.
And he's already purchased these chemicals, so
Yeah.
that's a done deal.
And no equipment.
So.
What
plan was
percent of your
to
budget
wait-
is fuel? Can't be very high, though, right?
Motor vehicle fuels,
Yeah, how high, what percent of 30, whatever thousand that is?
well, it's $4,200 of
About 10% or less.
48 in the operation side.
If we decrease the bottom line 10%, and we're figuring 3% at this point on wages, I don't think we need to go 10%. Do we?
Ideally, you'd want to try and keep it close to 3, but that's why he's here to explain to you why. He wants that consideration.
Just basically because of the fuel.
He's 10% on his operational side, on supplies, the running of the, you know.
But the only variable he's got is his fuel.
Well, you got propane, you got road fuel. Everything else pretty much stays the same. Vehicles and repairs, they're a little higher, but I'd put it this way, if he can stay at a 10%, I think he's doing, on the operational side, I think that's all you can expect.
Right, and then if things start to look like they're a
And if-
crisis, then you just tell them, quit spending.
The increase in your utilities is surcharges or more electricity?
Surcharges, I think, because we spent 1,000 over budget on that, so right around there.
Oh, so you had last year, on utilities, you had 4650, and you said you spent 1,000 over that? You figure you'll spend 1,000 over and,
Last year we budgeted 4650 and we spent 62. So then I budgeted 62 for this coming year.
The salary increase is at 3%?
That's for me and 3 people.
Right.
And like last year, we only had 2 all year, so we had 25,000 left over.
Doug, will you tell us again what you told us the other day, because I still haven't got it through my thick skull? The 3%, how does that apply to our budgetary planning when we know that that's an unrealistic figure?
The 3%,
Yes.
that's what we're going to be allowed to add to the tax request without an opt-out. So, like, for instance, he receives a grant, which we consider as part of his routine income. What is it, about $6,000?
I think it's 5,100 this year. It fluctuates from 4 to 6.
Which is primarily allows you to buy food, chemicals and something else,
Chemicals and wages.
but not your wages, right?
No, just the
Sprayer.
Yeah.
So he has that, but in the total scheme of things, the goal of keeping it at 3% is so that you can use those funds to move the highway department to complete those bridge projects. So that's where the spending control would come in later in the year. If you see that it's getting out of hand, put the brakes on it.
What do we tell the employees when they advise us that it's well known, the federal government is telling us that it costs 10% more to live this year than last year?
Tell them to suck it up, buttercup.
I'm not inclined to tell them that.
I know, but that's the truth. We all make sacrifices. You guys do at home, I do at home. I just had one of our employees talk to me about his overtime. I said, well, I usually donate anywhere from 11 to 16 hours a week time, so
Yeah, you do.
I'm trading.
I think people are gonna have.
Anything else, bud?
No, don't have nothing else.
okay?
I think it's probably safe to say, Jim, that considering that 3% cost of living increase is a misnomer. Because it doesn't even come close to covering the cost of living increase.
No, they said this morning it's at, I think, 9%,
Yeah.
highest inflation in 40 or 50 years.
Okay, Randy, you scheduled the next weed board meeting yet?
No, I haven't.
Okay.
It'll either be more likely the last Thursday of the month.
That's why Dome can have through 6% bonus on the state. Because it's three is unrealistic, you know.
I think we're done.
Okay, thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.
State's attorney?
He actually had no changes. His operational request didn't change a penny.
We've done commissioner, haven't we?
Yeah, the only thing that, was added is the discussion about health insurance as it relates to commissioners.
Okay. Is that what we're gonna talk about now?
Right?
Do not want me to do mine?
Yes,
Oh,
yeah, I lost
To do
you in
what?
here.
Did you want me to do my budget?
Yes,
Sorry, I was babysitting my mom, so I wasn't.
No. It's okay.
come up here. I seen you sitting there and I was like,
It's okay, I'm just patiently waiting. You know, I love talking to you guys.
oh, I know why I missed you. There was no
Yeah.
upload on yours.
Did you email them the one that I gave you or not, Doug?
No,
Okay. That's fine.
it's not too wild.
It's not?
No.
Okay, so so as far as operational, the only thing I did was, raise, my zoning, travel, and supplies. Supplies I raised a little bit because supplies are like $500 because they're getting a little bit more expensive, and then obviously gas for when I'm driving around reviewing building permits and that.
Okay, what did we do with, her wage?
Okay, well, and that's
Oh, that's next.
That's next.
Sorry.
So, as far as wages or salaries, I'm asking to add, an additional person, because Pearl is talking of retirement, so I'd like to plan to hire someone at the beginning of next year that can train alongside of us both, and then also kind of be my field assistant when I start the reappraisal. And
When
then
would Earl be retiring?
she's talking about the end of
This year?
no, not
Next
this year, the following year. So we would have someone, a third person in the office all of next year. So that person would learn Pearl's job and then also be my field assistant when I start the reappraisal. Okay, does that make sense?
How many hours are you talking about then for that person?
40 hours. Yeah, and there's enough, I can tell you right now, there's enough to do that I can keep them busy.
How many hours is Earl right now?
She works 40 hours a week. She does, God bless her.
So what we'd have is a year.
A
We're not
year
here.
where we're gonna have
Where
an
we'll have
extra
3 in the
person.
office, and then after
Right,
that, it'll
just
just be
one.
the 2 of you.
Right, yes, and there may be times where we, put a sign on the door that we're out of the office or whatever, but then we'll both be back for a little bit. And typically when we do that, Susie and Shanae are right across the way. I leave the door unlocked because most people that are coming in are appraisers that want to look at my sales books, and they're right there on the counter.
Jamie, if we did this, could we accomplish as much by hiring somebody at the 6-month period? 6 months prior to or 3 months prior? to
Oh, I get what you're
rather
saying.
than for a year,
We could, yeah,
we'd
I
save
guess.
half of that.
yeah, and that would be fine. That would be fine because in like right now, this time of year, we started our new year. Obviously, we're going through the board process.
The cycles you want the
This-
person to experience, I know.
Right, but I wouldn't be opposed to that.
Okay.
So I would not be opposed to that.
Rather than 6 months rather than a full year.
I wouldn't be opposed to it.
That's what I'm taking you're asking, Jim.
Yes, or 4 months or whatever. At least some of the cycles could be observed.
Yeah,
That-
yeah.
How
That
much,
is-
vacation time does Pearl have?
Does she have left?
Does she have a bunch built up,
She has about 9 days that she needs to use before her birthday. I call it her anniversary day, and that's in June. So, and she has time scheduled. So, and then as far as myself, I put in the budget to put me at where the 3 other offices are at on this floor. That's fine, I can do the 3%, I'm fine with that. But I feel like I know I don't have to go through election or whatever, but if you would like to come take a look at the office and what I've done in 8 months, I'm not trying to brag, but
It's true, you don't have to worry about election, but you know what you do have to worry about that the others don't? We can fire you
yes, you can.
for no good cause.
You wouldn't do that.
They have more job security than we
Right,
Kind of,
do. Well, they have to every 4 years.
yeah.
yes. So that's all I did, so I would just like you to consider that.
Well, we
And,
certainly will.
so, okay,
Thank you.
thank you guys. I think I'm gonna go because,
Oh.
Okay.
I will
Yes.
note that Jamie told me the other day when I dropped into her office for a minute, that she is not certified.
yes, I passed my test on Friday.
Yay.
Yeah,
Would
so
you say
I'm official.
What did you say the score was?
I got a 90%.
That a boy.
Yeah.
That a girl.
It's so fine, I take no offense. So,
You know I'm.
I did, yes, we celebrated and had dilly bars and stuff, so.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Jamie.
You guys have a good night.
Would it be okay if we prepared 2 for her, one with the 6-month start and one with the whole year, just to
Yeah.
see what
Yeah.
it's like?
Yeah.
See what it does.
My only point is, you get vacation time and sick leave and stuff when somebody's going out. Pearl might have quite a little time that she could take off too, that you're gonna need to replace them hours anyway, some way, so, just in the context of when somebody's retiring.
Right. Right, I get it.
there's other time elements that come into play too, you know. And
And,
she might even wanna go to 30 hours a week if she didn't have to be there.
and historically, for a long time, we had all three in there. Three
Exactly.
different employees.
No,
It isn't like it's anything new, novel or new.
no. And then we're going back into another assessment period.
Yeah.
That we found out what it's like to have that drug out.
Now we're on
Commissioners,
Yep, so it's time to revisit whether you want to continue to pay for commissioner's whole insurance, part of it, none of it.
I asked Doug to put this on the agenda. I think it's only fair that we address this with, two people running for Gibbs, district and Gibb getting out, that I think we should clarify this before the election. And so they know what they're stepping into. That's where I'm coming from with the request.
And I did spend a little time polling some other employees and some of my constituents about this. And I've always come through the point of view that we're elected officials, just like everybody else in this building are elected officials, and should be considered and treated as so, you know. But that being said, when you talk to the general public, we're going to work here and take into account our policy, which I think this is outdated, that was given to us. It's been adjusted since then. Most all of them seem to think the board should not enjoy full benefits. It should be a percentage, but nobody wants to put a finger on that percentage. It's somewhere between, it's not 100% and it's not 0, so nobody comes to a percentage of what needs to be done. My total feeling, and I'm prepared to do it because I'm the one that made the initial deal. My thoughts on it are, this board should have every right to participate in the health program here. But at this time, I would only be comfortable with making a motion at their own expense.
totally.
Yes. And when the new board, just like Jim says, that the new board is all seated here, going forward, they choose to do something different, they can. But at this time, with a new board, at least one new board member coming on, and if anybody quits and needs replaced, they need to be replaced too. I think this does need to be resolved. I'm in total agreement that it needs, just from the people I've talked to, they don't consider that just because we're elected officials, we should enjoy the same thing that the rest of the elected officials in Hancock do. They feel that we don't work enough hours to enjoy that much. And when you read it, if you get down under a 25% employee, you would not enjoy it. They don't. The general consensus is they don't think we work 25% of our time. I know I don't, because it's part of the reason I'm getting off. I don't feel like I got the time to afford to this board like I should. So I know I don't spend that much time at it. So, but that's not to say other people don't. But I don't know if this meeting's the appropriate meeting to make a motion on this, or if it should just be covered for budget reasons and then make the motion at the following meeting. I don't know what's appropriate here, but I do believe it needs to be corrected at this time.
I think that the original thinking behind offering it and not deviating from what became 100% subsidy, the original thinking was in extending the possibility of commissioners being covered was that we would perhaps scare up some people who otherwise wouldn't be interested in running for commissioner. It would be an added perk or benefit to throwing your hat in the ring and getting elected. Maybe we would scare up some enterprising types out there who have the county's interests at heart, and we would make their public service easier on them than it otherwise would have been. So the original thinking, at least the way I recall, was this would be an incentive for somebody to run for county commissioner. An added incentive to run for county commissioner. And I agree with it. And I still agree with it.
But
And I don't
also,
think we ought to make a commissioner pay in full. I think we ought to offer commissioners 100%, like we offer all of the elected officials in Kent County. This is not an hourly job, and everybody knows it's not.
and neither is none of the rest of the elected officials. They're not an hourly job. And that was our point. They're not hourly jobs, any of us that are elected. But back to being said, and being fair to the other employees and stuff, I think it needs to be corrected at this time, and going into the future, I think maybe a new board will reconsider it. I don't know. I do
Well,
not
I'm an
feel,
old,
I don't feel one bit slighted because I don't need it.
yeah, I don't either. I'm
I
Medicare.
mean, and if you're retired or whatever, I just don't need it. I don't feel slighted one bit. Some people on the outlook looking in feel like some people are getting undue benefit because of it. No, they can access it. I don't need it. It's
Would
no
it-
factor.
But what I'm saying is if everyone on the board was taking it, it wouldn't be an issue. We've got retired people on the board. You get from your job, you get insurance. What I'm saying is everyone that sits at this table has different things, and I'm a little bit with Jim, is that maybe we would get people to run for these positions if they knew, because I'll guarantee you what we get paid a month to do this. I lose more money than that by coming to this meeting.
Oh, I do too. I'm sure I probably got.
So I'm saying maybe we, instead of looking at it as someone's getting unfair compensated, maybe we're just getting compensated.
Yeah.
I
I don't disagree with it. You know,
I think that
all elected officials should be treated equitably too, you know, but
One other thing that we need to take into account, I think, is that in determining whether or not the size of our pool for purposes of setting insurance premium bids from interested companies, in determining the size of our pool, we have added 5 people to our pool. To the extent that we expand that number, and we're over 50, are we not?
51.
Okay, we're at 51. That puts us in whatever that territory is called, large group.
Large group or whatever.
Okay,
With the
if we're
company.
not in large group, if you're in small group, you're gonna have higher premiums for everybody.
Well, but we're still offering health insurance to commissioners, so,
yeah, that group deal will not change, but that was part of our incentive of doing it in the first place, because it would move us to a larger group and drop our rates down. Most people don't want to talk about that when you talk about this. They want to worry about what's equitable between everybody. And I'm listening to them, you know, but we're
You know, it's
still
long-
elected officials.
As long as I've been on this board, and I think it's 2013, if I'm not mistaken, I've never had a single person come up to me, not one in all those years, who's even voiced an opinion on this issue. Never. Just for
I
what
never
that's
did
worth.
either until we enacted it, that elected officials could take part in the health insurance and didn't do it on a percentage hourly basis the way it is for the rest of the employees. We did something that veers away from, we did it the same as the elected employees, but not at the same as all of our employees. Well, there's a difference between that girl that was just here, she's a hired employee, and the elected employee. You know, so, but that being said, I understand where they're coming from, so. And I can honestly admit, I did not work half-time here. I did not work a quarter time here. I tried to do the best I can to show up at meetings and be present. But that's part of the reason I'm getting off.
Well, your value as a commissioner certainly isn't based upon how many hours you put in. Your value as a commissioner is because you show good judgment, and the people in your district think you would be an excellent representative for them at this table.
Yeah.
That's why you're here.
Yep, that's
Not
right.
because you put in 14 hours or 4 hours or 50 hours.
And that was always my point, elected official should all fall under the same elected official rules. Not hourly employee rules. If we're not hourly employees, if we were, we'd have to have a time clock somewhere when we punched in, and that don't happen. No matter how many phone calls you get during dinner. Because that's when people like to go. But anyway, at this time, I don't know if this meeting or the next meeting to make a motion on this. This is a budget hearing,
Just a budget planning meeting.
planning meeting.
Planning.
Planning meeting. I don't know if it's appropriate to be making a motion here or not.
Appropriate what, yeah?
To me, make.
No, I don't think you need to make a motion. For my purposes, all I would need to know is, are you still gonna allow commissioners to enroll? And then you can decide the cost later, because
But don't you need to know that?
I need to know the impact on the numbers.
Yeah.
I think the commissioners should be able to avail themselves to the county's health plan. We just, the question has been, right from the start, since this has come up, is who's paying for it and how much
What
is each party
percentage?
paying or whatever.
You're gonna be 50%, 100%, 25%, 0%, you know. Everybody seems to be wrapped around the axle about that, no matter what else we do.
Yeah.
And I just don't think we had a good finger on that. I wish that I would have had a good finger on it the day I did it and been way more precise in the way I did it. I was the one that did it. And I'll stand up to it to this day. We're still elected officials here. But that all being said, I don't want to pin employees against employees here and stuff. That I just think that at this time, it'd be a good idea to go back to ground zero because I don't think it's been accepted very well.
I guess we all have our own experiences with our own constituencies and our own read of what the employees think of this. But it's my position that we are the ones who have fanned the flames. We're the ones who have made it an issue month after month after month after month. Nobody else cares. We've become obsessed with this to no good end, in my view.
Don't disagree, but I'm the one that did it. and it keeps
Let's
getting
move on.
thrown
We
out
got
there.
some plats that people wanna get done.
Can I ask, are you also in favor of at least keeping the count where it is?
I agree, Doug.
The commissioners are eligible and we'll discuss the funding part of it later.
Yeah,
I guess so, yeah.
let's
Is
put
there
it on the
anybody
next
that's not?
meeting and
See,
Greg should be here anyway, so we got a full board.
The plat that you have before you is the Melbourne plat, which was delivered late to the last meeting. And basically, everybody's had an opportunity to look at it, right?
Oh, yeah, we had.
Yeah. And
Yes.
so, if you would please convene as the board, planning commission board of adjustment for the purpose of hearing or reviewing that plat and approving it.
is everything in order, Doug?
We believe it is,
Okay.
So we're convened as a board now.
if he says so.
We're convened as a board.
Thank you.
I'm going to approve.
A second.
I looked at it last time and just
Yeah.
came in late.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We don't need a roll call.
It's a resolution, but I didn't hear Jim Jones, so if
Yeah, I
he's.
said aye.
Okay.
Goodbye.
Jim, aye.
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 And then the JD Fanning plat didn't arrive, so we're not gonna have that. That'll be on the next agenda if they get it to us. So now if you would adjourn as the board of adjustment.
Doug,
Yeah.
why are there two different Melbourne edition plats?
That's me. That's a cut and paste mistake.
Do we need
Oh,
a
okay.
motion to,
Twice.
Okay.
now we're back as a
commissioners.
As commissioners.
We'll wear our hair out, changing hats here.
Wow. We're going to the license renewal at the highway store? Is that where we're headed?
That's all in order. That came late to the last meeting too, so it's just an opportunity for us to get it out of here.
Move to approve.
So I just need to sign this?
Yep.
Money's all in order?
Is there a second?
I did.
Thank you.
All in favor?
And then just as a reminder, the governor gave everybody Good Friday and Easter Monday off. So we're gonna be here, I'll be in Huron for the next 2 days for the Welfare Directors Conference. Yeah. That's what I thought too.
Good luck.
Where's it at? Courthouse.
Crossroads, and then that folder contains an archaeological, you approved it last time, but it wasn't prepared for signature. And so if you guys would give Luke consent to sign on behalf of, as the chair, since Greg is not present.
So moved.
Second,
You're gonna have to tell me where to sign here, because there's a whole lot of different
Jeff
ones.
had them, there's 2 copies. You can do it afterwards too.
Yeah, we'll go through that.
Otherwise, I do have a care for the poor thing that we'll talk about at the next meeting. Because they're harassing me now over it, so we'll visit about that. Otherwise, that's it.
Is there any other glitches or contingencies within the budget that you have that are unknowns to you that you need at this time?
No, just keep in mind, we still have that question floating out there, if you want to use the American Rescue Plan money for infrastructure improvements. Because if we can come to a consensus on that, then we can start budget processes for the.
And what's the total on that?
Well, right now, we're sitting on 308, and at the end of the day, it should be 616, 618.
Okay, at the end of the day, when it is 16, it's 616, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Is that figured in our 40% carryover if we
No,
don't? So we can make that a capital improvement fund?
Well,
Or capital maintenance?
what we would do is we would transfer out of that fund
Okay,
into the general fund, to this building, with the library or weed and pest. And then if, like Jeff says, he's got issues with the highway department that need to be fixed, then
Can I
we
hear a motion
transfer
to adjourn?
from ARPA.
motion to
road
adjourn.
bridge. So,
Would it be appropriate to ask
We'll
departments
just keep it all.
to come forward with a proposal, whether it be Jeff or the weed department?
well, if you guys come to a consensus that you do want to invest it in fixing these buildings and properties, then I would tell them, put your plans together and what you need. Because I know Will already has a rough outline of things that need to be accomplished here. You know, some of it he's talking about resealing the windows and fixing some top lining.
But if we were talking about like a new shop building, you know, update our shop building for the highway department or something like that, like a 20 or 40-year update, it'd be more of a 40-year update than a 20-year update. You know, we need a proposal from that department on where to go with that, and what we need to do with it. And I think that would be a fair way to go about it. You know, a historical building can't really do a lot here. You know, like the garage, the ID and that kind of, that's good. But if we could incorporate, put some of these buildings together in a new facility, so that we weren't maintaining so many different facilities, whether it be the weed department, if we did build a new shop, that maybe everything could get more centrally located in one place and update. Because you only get so many chances in the whole lifetime to update. Well, if the happens, the funding's there to update, and so now your shop building supports your machinery and everything that you're doing, because everything's getting bigger and better, you know. Maybe it would be the time to do it. And of course, when you're talking big budget numbers, you're always talking about highway department, because that's a major part of our budget.
yes.
Where else are we spending money? That's where we're supposed to be spending money, you know. But there's something with a shop that's 50 years old, or I don't even know how old that shop is. But,
The one next door was 1928, I think it says on it.
and it's still usable for a lot of things. It doesn't mean it wouldn't be time for a 50-year update to go into the future with, you know, instead of always trying to set in the past. But anyway, that's my idea, that it might be a point where we need a proposal on where it would, or maybe we would be going if we decide to spend 600,000.
City Hall.
I threw out an idea the other day, and this comes from some discussion with Doug about a promise that was made to the sheriff's department decades ago when they knocked down the old sheriff's building, because they had four vehicle storage underneath of there. And I've been approached about our emergency responder vehicles, our sheriff's department and Arlen's vehicle sitting inside, you know, in the wintertime when it's cold and sleeting and whatever else, that they can jump in them vehicles and go. It doesn't have to be an elaborate building, like I said, a 4-car garage, and put some heat in the floor and keep it at 50 degrees or something. But that's another thought. That wouldn't cost, well, I shouldn't say it wouldn't cost a lot of money. Everything costs a lot of money nowadays.
I was gonna say, you start building buildings, that dollar amount's gone.
Yeah.
Doug, what is the status of sales tax refund on the Pipestone project?
Haven't heard a peep. The last
God,
time we
that's
called
almost
out,
$500,000.
last time we called out to GOED, they said it's in the mix. Do you want me to have somebody come visit with you?
Could one or some of us just make a phone call to the appropriate party and say, where's our money?
Sure.
If you can tell me who to call, I'll do it,
I would start with Joe Fiala, since his office is at City Hall.
okay? That'd be a good place to start with, okay?
Are we ready to adjourn this meeting?
Yep, we need to come to a consensus on the ARPA money. Do you want to explore the building and ground improvements?
Well, yeah.
To me,
Yeah.
that would be the right direction to go with it, you know, let's look into the future and go that way with updating some of this stuff. We're scattering all these old buildings around, trying to maintain all these buildings to house them with, and trying to figure out different ways about, maybe the good way about it is come up with a plan to actually update.
Yeah, that old highway shop is certainly in rough shape, you know.
I mean, the old one.
Well, no, the one they're in now
Oh, one in
is
now.
even,
But it still would be adequate cold storage and adequate, I mean, it'd still be well utilized
Yeah.
within the deal. But when you're talking about a good usable shop that's good working conditions and getting good employees to work there and that kind of stuff, it's the kind of stuff you need to do if you want to keep
Yeah.
getting people.
And we do have the ground for it.
Yeah.
that is
We
also.
got property.
You don't have to buy the property, but just, it's another one of them deals you should have did 10 or 20 years ago when it was cheap to do.
A nice,
Cheaper.
It ain't gonna be cheap.
Oh.
No matter what.
a nice shop that's well lit is certainly conducive to good machine maintenance too.
Yeah, good floor heat in it and good, working accommodations for the people that work there. Means a bunch to the people that gotta work there, day in and day out.
Sure does, yeah.
Instead of getting old coaster out, kicking her out from the floor and crawling on her and rolling underneath there.
I would look into it.
Okay. Well done.
I need a motion to adjourn and.
I have made a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you, guys.
Good. You know where I am.
Now I'll have my one, see, Jim.
Yep.
If you have one, as you walk out the door, you can't have four.
No, this is, you just, you never figure that out.
We have this much on hand.
Yeah.
And they're supposed to send us a second dose. And I can't remember if it's 301 or 309. I'm guessing 309, because these shirts are 618. The second.
That's a loaded statement.
We're gonna keep this just like one thing.
Shit, no one's gonna know my head.
Right in my roll. To get some, not picking on the old shit.
Oh.
And that's a short
I'll do it.
campaign.
I'm not trying to do much. Somebody told me that you have a